I finally sat my oldest kid down and I had the sex talk. And I learned so much. Very informative. And look, I know that we try to keep our kids from seeing crazy things on the internet. As someone who might be a few years ahead of some of you in parenting, I just want to tell you that when it comes to internet security, give up. Give up. These kids are going to beat you every time. And I know that there are at least a couple of people who are thinking, speak for yourself, Jen. Not in our house. We have internet security locked down. You were born in a year that starts with 19. And you think you're going to outsmart someone who's never known a world without iPhones? I get it, though. That was us. My husband and I both used to work in high tech. That's actually how we met, at a high tech company. So we called our friends who worked at Google, and we said, what is the gold standard? Give us just the top internet security thing. They said, okay, there is a router. The router is the thing that broadcasts the Wi-Fi to the house. They said, there's a good one. It cost $400, but it is the best. So we got it, and it was the best. This thing was incredible. It would show, you could log in and see all of the different devices that were using Wi-Fi. So it would be like Donald's laptop, Lucy's iPad, Kate's iPad, and then the other, like downstairs Alexa, kitchen crock pot. I could go up there, and I could be like, restrict, when it was screens off time, turn off, no more internet for you, no more Wi-Fi for you. And as I did it, I would think, you know what feels amazing? Having parenting all figured out. I was like, I should mentor. This is incredible. This came up the other day. I happened to say, I said, in front of my teen daughter, I said, that $400 router was really key to our home internet safety. She said, that $400 router was a paperweight. I said, no, I know that it wasn't, because I would watch, like, turn off Wi-Fi. She said, Mom, I babysat for the neighbors. I had their Wi-Fi password. I said, is that why you were always over in that one corner of the house? She said, yeah, I got 3 bars over there. What kills me about that is that that's where our bookshelf is. And so I would see her spending hours over there. And I would think, I've instilled a love of reading in my children. My son went to college this year. He's studying computer science. I said, son, what instilled you with a passion for this field of study? Was it perhaps one of the many books I bought you about the founders of the sciences? He said, do you remember that $400 router? He taught himself how to change the names of devices on a network for 5 years. His laptop was called Kitchen Crockpot. And then he figured out to change the name of the crock pot to Donald's laptop. He tells me now that he would sit up in his room and laugh himself to the point of tears when I'd be like, no more internet for you, mister. Click. And then I'd go downstairs to make something in the crock pot. And I'd be like, this thing hardly ever works. What's going on here? Oh. Guys, I called the manufacturer. Give up. This was affirmed for me after a show one time. A young fan who is 23 now, she came up to me and she said, no, Jen, she said, you're exactly right. When she was a senior in high school, she wanted to send some wild messages with her boyfriend, but her mom checked her phone. Her mom had all the software, social media monitoring stuff. So what she did is she created a Google Sheets spreadsheet called Budget Finance Analysis, and she shared it with her boyfriend. So they could both see whatever was in there, and they would just exchange crazy messages that way. And I said, okay, wow, that's inappropriate. I'm glad you stopped doing that. But thank you. I mean, you proved my point. Yeah, thank you for that information. And as I walked away, I thought, I wonder if that's how I could finally get my husband to, He's a pretty analytical guy, you know? He might be like, I don't know, I saw that you use conditional formatting in cell C17. Oh. I mean, honestly, he would get excited. If I shared that spreadsheet with him, he'd be like, my wife created a budget? Now, so I openly admit parenting being so hard for me, I just let screens babysit my kids all the time. Oh man, our TV was on so much. I'm surprised the CEO of Netflix didn't call me, like, what is going on over there? I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that we were thriving. Yes, at one point, I thought that the Teletubbies were personally communicating with me. I'm not saying it was like a great situation, but as a modern parent, you do what you gotta do to survive. And then people would be like, Jen, your generation is so lazy. You know, your great-grandmother's generation, they raised all of these kids without ever once using a screen. To which I say, yeah, they had something that we don't have, and that is called outside. My great-grandmother never saw her kids. They'd take the family shotgun, head out into the woods, spend all day hunting small animals for her to skin and cook up for dinner. My homeowners association has policies against that. So it's gonna be 5 hours of Paw Patrol today. We didn't even have the good shows. We were the Dora the Explorer era. You guys know, Dora? Okay. I have a Pavlovian response to that name. I just start. There's a character on Dora called the Map. He introduces himself with the same song every time. Let me see if I can remember these lyrics. It'll be hard. Lord be with me. I'll see if I can do it. I think it's, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, what's next? Oh, I'm the map. And then it just ends with, I'm the map. Somebody got paid to write that. In their defense, I have been that hungover at work. You're like, let's just copy paste. Maybe nobody will notice. Let me tell you, you hear that 17 times in one day, and you start getting philosophical. I was like, who are you trying to convince you're the map? Is it us or perhaps yourself? Deep down inside, are you scared that you're just a chart? Thomas, we had Thomas the Train. Hang on. Did you ever notice that the only compliment the narrator ever gives those little trains is that they're useful? It's like, Thomas was a very useful engine. Polly was a very useful engine. I'm like, what happens to them if they stop becoming useful as workers? I thought, I'm getting very communist vibes from this show. Don't get me wrong, I still let my kids watch it. They'd start screaming, hitting each other with the naked Barbies. I'd be like, children, let us check in with Comrade Thomas today. I finally figured out the right way to let screens babysit your kids. You gotta break out the good stuff. You see, back in my day, we had a roadrunner and a coyote who dropped anvils on each other's heads We had a guy named He-Man who got amazing powers by holding up a piece of metal in a lightning storm. And we had a cat and mouse who ran around a house all day chasing each other with meat cleavers. Today, the plot of literally every children's TV show is, this character has a group of supportive friends. And they recycle. They won't stream the good stuff anymore, so I wised up and I bought some bootleg copies on eBay of some old cartoons. Let me just tell you, the first time I popped in a 1976 Looney Tunes, my 8-year-old son saw one character light a stick of TNT, throw it at his enemy. The enemy comes running back on fire, shooting 3 bazookas at once. My son turned around and said, "You have been holding out on me." I use TV for all sorts of stuff. Because I'd never seen this life that I'm living done, I turned to the TV for inspiration for myself. I openly admit, I actually I learned a lot about what it means to be a mom from that classic TV show that makes having a big family look like so much fun. You know, Game of Thrones? Oh, that was very inspiring to me. I would watch that show and I'd be like, nobody asks those moms what they do all day. I don't see them having to make a meal plan. I said, these women on this show, man, they get involved in everyone's drama so that all their kids can marry rich and nobody in this family ever has to work again. I'm like, that is a model of motherhood I can get into. I realized I'm not a stay-at-home mom, I'm a stay-at-home matriarch. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from this wild ride of being someone not at all cut out to have kids, and yet I have this big family, is whether you're a parent or you're an aunt or an uncle, if you work with kids in any capacity, you have to connect with them in a way that is authentic to you, even if it looks a little different. And it took me a while to learn this. When I was a young mom, I thought that all moms were supposed to do glitter crafts with kids. I very quickly learned that if I ever do glitter crafts with young children again, the only result of that's going to be that I will be the most sparkly person in the psych ward. Cannot do it. But I realized, look, if it involving your family in some absolutely grandiose plan that sounds amazing and exciting, and you have not thought through any details about how you are actually going to make this happen, I am your woman. So for my first comedy tour, I wanted to go on tour, but I had no agent, I had no manager, nobody would book me anywhere. I had people hang up on me. So I decided that I would just rent theaters all across the country on my own on my personal credit card. And I did it. Then I realized I spent all my money renting the theaters, and I had no money left over for staff. So I turned to the age-old tradition of child labor. I would knock on my kid's door like, "Hey, honey, do you want tater tots with dinner? And do you want to manage a national theater tour?" And honestly, it was this great bonding thing between me and my kids. A little different, but it really worked. And they got so much mileage out of this experience. Can you even imagine? After that summer, when they reconnected with their little friends, their friends would be like, "What did you do this summer?" "I rode the big slide at the water park." My kids were like, "So I was in Toledo and the guys put the 36C gels on the lights," and I'm like, "Why do I even have a rider if you people aren't gonna read it?" They're still getting mileage. They're still getting mileage out of that. So I started to just involve them in my career. I realized you don't have to put up these rigid walls between work life and family life. And so they were actually involved in one of the biggest decisions of my career. Some of you guys know about my background of being a daily SiriusXM talk radio host. Well, you know how that ends. So in consultation with my kids, we decided together that I would quit that job to pursue my dream of doing stand-up comedy touring full time. In March of 2020. No, I had some great shows in 2020 in front of the bathroom mirror. Granted, the audience was really drunk. Okay, here's actually something really funny about that. At the beginning of that year, my kids told me that I should make a vision board for what I want from my life. And they said, what you do is you take a piece of cardboard, you put pictures on it of what you want in your life. And one of my daughters said, so one of my friends says that whatever you put on your vision board will manifest. And she's from a hippie family. And I said, hey, we do not believe in manifesting. And they said, oh, because we're Catholic? I said, no, because I had a whole vision wall from Marky Mark back in the day. And he never showed up at my house, so that doesn't work. But I said, sure, I'll do it for inspiration. So I printed out pictures from the internet of all these different theaters and clubs that I wanted to tour to. And all of the pictures were from standing on the stage and then looking out at the venue. Very inspiring. So I filled the vision board. This is my tour. I put in big, huge letters, 2020 at the top, and I hung it up, and you know what happened next. I was like, okay, well, you can tell your hippie friend how this worked out. I think we know whose religion is the right one now. Then one day, that friend was over at our house, and she pointed something out. Do you know what kind of pictures venues have to put of their establishments on the internet? Can't have people in it for legal reasons. My 2020 vision board, she looks at it and says, Mrs. Fulweiler, your vision board is all of these theaters all over the country being empty. My kids were like, bro, mom manifested the pandemic. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. My bad.